Sweet.
So now we're getting on to the DM question of the week. So we all, us DMs and players, had this problem. You, as the DM, you want to give everyone a taste of that sweet, elegant spotlight.
Yes.
But there's always, sometimes, that one person that steals the moment. You go up to the shy person like, okay, Jonathan Lightseeker. You see a light and you must seek it. It's a holy sword. But then Tarax, the orc barbarian, comes in. It's my sword now. And he walks up, pushes the poor guy out of the way, takes the sword from him. We cannot allow this as DMs.
Yeah. Or you just have a role play moment where it's like, I want to talk about, I'm just here to give the money back. And then you have your barbarian dude. It's not even a class thing. You have a player who just jumps in and says, oh, I attack him or something. And it ruins
just
someone
really
else's
just
thing.
annoying.
So basically, our issue here is we're talking about overly proactive players and how to deal with them, mostly as a DM, but we'll talk a little bit about how you can deal with them as a player or if you are yourself an overly proactive player. And typically, those are seen by people who are stealing the spotlight a lot or just really want to be in the spotlight. And it's a totally understandable thing. D&D is so fun that it's easy to get lost in the moment. So I'll start off by just explaining maybe why, if you do have a player or if you yourself find yourself hogging the spotlight, why is that player doing that? And they're not evil. They're probably not evil. They're not trying to ruin your game. They're just very immersed in it. And so as a DM, having a player like that,
it's kind of fun.
It's a success in one way in that it's like they're having fun. The problem is they're having a little too much fun, right? You have other players to
settle
help
down,
out.
all right? You know, like kind of slow. There's like hold your horses, all right? Like I know it's fun. I know I'm such a god tier DM, but like just settle down.
Calm down.
I mean, your energy's amazing, but let shy Phil,
Shy Phil, nice.
Yeah, I'm just coming up with these names.
It's a good character name.
Yeah, but Shy Phil, let her or him,
do their thing.
Do their thing.
Yeah. So anyway, why are they hogging the spotlight? They're immersed in the game. They probably really like the game, and they probably think about the game all the time. But they're not focusing their attention on their fellow players, and that's the bad part. The other parts are great. It's just some people are less socially aware than others and just need more help from the people around them to show them that, to keep them from stepping on everyone's toes. They're just less socially aware. I almost can guarantee if you play enough D&D games, you're going to come across someone who just really butts in. And don't get super mad at them, at least not yet. Like, just help them out, because if you talk to them, I'm sure they're gonna be nice, and they do not mean what they're doing.
Yeah,
right?
just walk the way, be, hey man, like, look, like I know you're having fun, but like let the other people do their thing. Just be reasonable with them. If they continue to do it, you are the DM. You have all the power in the world. You can literally punish them for it.
Well, I would. That shouldn't be plan A. But okay,
I would.
But the first thing I want to say is talking to the people who might think they are this player, because at times I have felt like this player before. I definitely got caught up in the moment.
Oh, I have so many.
Where it's like
sword.
Where it's like, oh, my character would totally do something here, and I'll do it, and then I'll be like, oh wait, but I just did something past. You know what I mean? I am pretty conscious of it, but
it's hard sometimes.
I definitely have the tendency to jump in. Like if something happens, I want to say my thing right now. Thankfully, though, I am pretty capable of recognizing that other people should talk to. I'm just saying that there are people that probably have my tendency, but don't necessarily have the ability to watch themselves as well. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah. So, just be like, just warn them and be like.
Well, okay, go ahead.
If it gets too bad, though,
we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So I want to go step by step. So I want to talk to the person who is this person. So the thing, if you feel like you're this person, like I'm saying I am to some extent, The problem is you probably have most of your attention on your own character, and that seems very natural to do because that is your job. Your job is to show up to the table with an awesome character, right? But D&D really does need to be thought of as kind of a group activity because it is one. And so my advice, if you feel like you do take the spotlight sometimes, is to take your attention off your character, not completely, but take it off your character to some extent, and think about the story of the party. So, for example, if your character is like, I'll just use your character that you were recently playing, the hunter, right? And you like to hunt beasts and whatever. Sometimes you got to forget about that because if you're not, if you saying I'm gonna go do something completely random that has nothing to do with I'm not calling you out. I'm just using your character because you're here. Instead of saying, "Oh, my character is a hunter, I'm gonna go hunt," you think about, "Oh, what is the party doing right now? Even if my character might do this, is that best for the story? Is that best for everyone to have fun?" And so your character needs to be compatible with the party. I do believe there is a way to make a bad character. You can show up to the table and your character is okay, I don't know about objectively, but it is bad. And it's bad if it's not conducive of a fun environment. If your character is just so annoying because they literally can't be a team player or they can't follow a plot because they're so preoccupied with something else, that's not a good character. Because that's the point of the game is not for your character and for you personally to go do what you want to do. It's for everyone at the table to create a story together, assuming that's what you set out to do at session 0. So, in summary, if you are that character, if you are that person that just butts in and you can recognize that in yourself, one, I'm with you on that. It's totally a thing that I do. So just you gotta switch your mindset. I'd say, think about the party. What would be awesome for the party to do?
Because like in every show with like a group of people, it's not about one person. It's about like the group. Like kind of like you'll get your moments, kind of like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, like season 3. Everyone got their own episode. So it's really about literally everyone. Like as Sokka got his sword, Katara did some vengeance stuff.
Yeah.
And just everyone does their own thing, and you will get your part too. So that's what you should think about.
And if you really feel like you're not, that's something to talk with your DM about. Yeah. But that's likely, that's true. Yeah. Everyone gets to have their moments, and you got to share it. The only reason your moment is exciting is because you got the people around you who are watching you go through it. And so you have to give that same respect to your other players by saying they get their moment too, and I don't get to steal it from them, right? It's their moment. And most of the time, every session has little moments. So it's like, I got my moment to do my cool attack. This is her chance to do some role-playing with the town keeper. I'm not going to butt in and start saying that I'm punching people in the bar. I'm just going to let her do her thing, or him, or whoever.
Yeah, also another example, the joking bard, or the horny bard. Stereotypical.
Oh, like they're constantly
making jokes left and right.
Well, that's a different type of player. We're gonna keep that out of this one.
But
that's the joke player who isn't taking anything seriously and ruining the tension.
Well, no, but like there could be like a jokester where like they just take the spotlight by saying something funny.
That's
so
true.
It's just kind of like
that's true. A form of this could be like
they can
you just gotta throw in your joke
accident. Too. Yeah. Like, they're not even meaning to. They just say something. It's like, that kind of like, just like, when we think it's funny, it's like, haha, but, that guy over there that actually spent the time role-playing, just kind of gets oofed. And to the side.
No, that type of
like
overly proactive, that's not really overly proactive. That's
just like stealing the spotlight because you're just...
It is. It's a different type of player. It definitely is one that annoys me the most, actually, because I personally like to get immersed in the world and take it seriously. If you have a game that's all about making jokes, fine. And I make jokes too. Just in general, I like to keep those limited because I just like that tension, the feeling of like this, this is real, to the best of our ability. It's
exactly.
Fun.
Yeah. I mean, personally, that just happened with me. Like, there was like this one guy that kept saying, like, just kept taking the spotlight from other people by making good jokes, but like, still, you're just like, God dang it! Like, I wish they just your jokes are amazing, but like, just shut up for a second.
Yeah,
like, stop stealing it. Yeah,
It's not a comedy show; it's a game of D&D.
Yeah,
so okay, if you are a co-player to someone like this, your options are kind of limited. I mean, so here's what you can do. The first thing, this is going to be obvious, is talk to them or the DM about it. Like, just straight out talk about it. And be like, hey, this is kind of what I feel like is going on. Communicate, right? Communication is, like, vital for any groups of people. So there's that. But if that doesn't work, which I'm assuming it didn't, if this still matters, because if you haven't tried talking to your DM or the player yet, do that. All right, Next. That didn't work. Now you just really have to stand up for yourself, and you can do this politely. You don't got to be confrontational about it. All you got to do is play D&D, and whenever that person steps in and takes the spotlight from you, you just have to politely say, hey, I wasn't done. I was still talking.
Or punch them in their character.
Well, that you could do that.
That's how I would do it.
But before you do that, before you initiate PvP, which will destroy the campaign likely, unless it's lighthearted. Just politely say, "Oh, hey, I wasn't done."
Yeah.
And unless they're jerks, they'll be like, "Oh, sorry."
And
do
if
that
they're
every
jerks,
time.
the DM should kick them out. Really.
Yeah, we'll get to that if they're jerks. But assuming they're not jerks, assuming they just this is just their problem. They're not aware of when they're doing this. So if you do it every time, if every time they butt in accidentally, because they're thinking about themselves accidentally, just say, "Oh, I wasn't done," and eventually, as long as they are actively also trying to be better about it, they'll just be conditioned to not butt in. So that's a way you can do it as a co-player. But of course, the person who has the most ability to make change is the DM. And so
he is God after all.
Yes, which we'll talk about in the debate. So if a player comes to you as the DM and has this as an issue, obviously make sure you address it. Any players that have issues should be addressed. And so this is how you can address it. This is how I actually do interactions most of the time, and this is a way you can do them that will solve this problem in general. And I do this because I actually play more virtual than in person, especially with the pandemic at this point. But I actually really love virtual. Just on a time commitment scale, it's way simpler. And a lot of my friends are nowhere near here, so...
I mean, personally, I like in person better.
I like in person. It's just logistically with all this stuff. D&D can be hard to fit into your life because it's time consuming, especially when you're the DM, right? So I find virtual better. But anyway, let's get into what I was gonna say. So the problem is you have a character who is butting in, and so the way to resolve this is set up the way interactions go on a basis that isn't about whoever wants to do something does it. That's not how it goes. What you do as the DM is you say, Jimmy, what do you want to do?
Jimmy.
Only Jimmy answers.
And if anybody else answers, you should smite them where they stand. Yeah. Their character becomes dust.
Anything anyone else wants to do doesn't get to be done. And this is not a mean thing to do. It's just Jimmy's turn. And so when Jimmy's done and they say, I do this, and you act out a relatively healthy amount of time. You don't let Jimmy start playing 5 days worth of game time, right? They get to have, if they're in role-playing, they get to have a little bit of a conversation. If it's combat, it's only, a round or two. You got to make sure everyone's engaged. And then when Jimmy's done, you go over to Leslie, and you say, Leslie, your turn. And then she gets to go. And so if you do this, there's no chance for anyone to butt in. There's no chance for anyone to butt in. The only thing it does is it does make it a little bit more work for you as the DM because you have to not only manage everything a DM manages, but you have to make sure that everyone is getting their chance to add as a player, and you're in control of it 100%. I like being in control as DM, which is why I like being DM in general.
I mean, if you're not in control, like...
Can't let it go to your head, but this is a way that as long as you don't let the control go to your head and you make sure that you care for all your players, that you can make sure there's no butting in. And this also helps a lot of other things that we may end up talking about, such as like if the players are different in their personality. So if you have shy players and you have not shy players, you can get shy players to have their turn by just saying, all right, your turn, what do you do? And they get to speak. They don't have to butt in because shy players don't like to do that. So that's one way you can do it, and my favorite way. If, for whatever reason, you hate this way of doing it, you don't have to do it. I would say you have to just do what you would have done as a co-player. You talk to the problem player, and you say, this is what's going on. This is how you're contributing to the problem in a nice way. Like, again, they're probably not being malicious about it. And can we try to be better? And they'll probably be like, sure. And from there on, just help them. Just any time that they butt in on someone and you notice it, you are the DM. People do look up to you as the person who is making sure this game is being fun for everyone. A player may not be comfortable kind of taking command because that's not their position. Roll. They're a player. So as the DM, you should be looking out for everyone. And so if you have a player that's really passionate and jumps over someone else, it's great that they're passionate. And you don't want to just dismiss them, but you want to be like, hey, we talked about this. We'll get to you after she goes, all right? And then the player will probably be like, oh, yeah, sorry. And it's like, no problem. Leslie, you're up.
Yep, just having a good attitude about all this is good, even though sometimes you just want to strangle. But, sometimes just have a good attitude, guys. You're all there for the game. When the person, tries to just be like, well, man, just let Shy Jim go.
Yeah.
Right?
In general, the person is not doing it on purpose, and they just need the help of their
really
companions.
Excited. Yeah,
You're his companion. Help him out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Companion, shield brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Right? You guys are all together.
You're all in it together.
Yep.
So my last thing, we're going to end on a very negative note.
What?
If they're not in it for the companions, if they are not team players, if they are like, I don't care what you're saying, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it.
Oh!
Then we have a totally new type of person. And we'll get into it in another
As the DM, you should smite their character to make their character's head explode with your DM might and then kick them out.
Oh.
Shun them. Make them the Drider. Us, we are the Drow. Those people are the Driders.
That's a good point. If anyone butts in, they're a Drider now.
They're a Drider now. You make fun
But they have an armor class of 9.
19.
No, it's just 9 for some reason.
And
as God. You're a spider without an exoskeleton. Well, so you're just like the gooey inside.
So you're kind of like... Oh, no, you're not even a Drider. You're like a Sliger.
You're just a slug.
A slug.
Anyway.
And then at school, you'd be like, haha, 8 legs.
Right.
8 legs. And
yes.
then people would be very confused. They're like, what? Guys, call me 8 legs. You stupid. You don't make fun of them.